Hello, Superboy Beyond fans. Welcome back. It's Chris and Tom here, your keepers of the comic book kingdom, so to speak. We are going back again to the black and white era of Superman. I think last week or the week before we did George Reeves's episode 4. Now we're doing Kirk Alyn. And this is episode 6 of the first serial. Yep. And that is Superman in Danger.
Yeah.
So you guys know the drill. You know, there's not going to be any clips of the episode in our video. It's going to be a heavily filtered version right up there. Okay. So I'm going to count you in with a 3, 2, 1. Great Scott, and we'll get started. So this is going to be Kirk Alyn first serial, Superman, episode 6, Superman in Danger, and I'll count you in. Okay, so 3, 2, 1. Great Scott.
And here we go. I've probably asked it before. It opens with a zooming shot of the front page of a comic or magazine. Is that actually the front cover for an issue of the comic anywhere?
I don't believe so. I think that was just something created just for the serial, just like that mural that we have in the background right now.
Fair enough. Might have been nice if the comic that they'd chosen was maybe like the first appearance of Superman or something, like lifting the green car above his head. That could have been fun, but oh well. They probably didn't have the rights to use that particular image. And this is directed by Thomas Carr. I wonder if that's the same Tommy Carr from George Reeves, or if Thomas Carr and Tommy Carr are indeed different people.
Well, there's only one way for us to find out.
I'm glad they've got something to remind me what happened last week.
Well, I remember at this point, it's like last month for us.
Yeah. That car went out very easily.
Yeah.
Clever. Imagine though, nowadays you could just leave a phone with an audio clip playing. Back then you actually had to leave a full-on gramophone in the car. Yes, I remember laughing at that shot in the last episode. Okay, that was maybe the best flying sequence. I hesitate to call it a sequence, but that was maybe the best flying sequence so far in this show.
Yeah, you didn't mind the animation so much in that moment.
No. I mean, I haven't minded it in any of the moments so far, to be honest, but it really worked well in that shot. And that one. I think literally all I would do to change it would just add a little bit more shading, just to add some 3 dimension to it, you know. All my other complaints are just nitpicks that we've discussed before, you know. The cape looking tiny, the way it attaches over the shoulders, I'm not a fan of. And yeah, the briefs are just huge. It looks like he's wearing a diaper. I do quite like the shiny belt buckle, though. That's something you don't see very often. Anymore, anyway. Let's face it, it's ever since like the first Christopher Reeve movie, we've not had the metallic belt buckle.
Well, actually, Tyler Hoechlin on his more recent costume did.
It was like a red and yellow sort of slightly metallic. I always thought it looked more plasticky than anything though.
Mm.
Just like Christopher Reeve's belt, that just very much just looked like yellow plastic. And let's face it, Dean Kane's version of the belt was just the same as Reeve and Gerard Christopher's one. It was just a square buckle instead of round.
Mm.
Basically the same thing, isn't it? I know in a previous episode I said that I quite liked the Spider Lady's lair. I honestly think it's just that giant spider web that I liked. The more I see of it, the more boring it seems to look. It's just a very bare bones lair. You can tell they didn't have much money for this show.
They probably should have put some of the lights out in the place to give it a little bit more.
Yeah, just have it mood lighting. Make it a little bit darker. Make it something to build up atmosphere in it. And I swear the show's producers must have really thought that Tommy Bond looked good in that hat, because why he wears it in every shot, even when he's at his desk inside. I swear back then it was thought of as rude to keep your hat on when you go inside.
Yeah.
Maybe that
Jimmy
was just
is supposed to be a kid, so that could be part of the reason why he keeps wearing the damn hat.
Maybe. But it makes him look so much older. I guess it works for the character if he wants to be taken more seriously, but for the audience, it just doesn't quite work for me.
And Noelle is wearing a hat indoors too.
Yeah, she hasn't taken that hat off yet either. She's had that in every single scene so far.
Well,
I think
except for the scene when she was knocked out cold at the beginning.
Yeah. So now I'm just picturing that scene from Naked Gun, paying off the informer. Can you spot me a 20? Here you go. Swaps it round on him at the end.
I got to say, that moment right there, when Clark is turning around, he's a little too stiff.
A little bit. I do think Kirk Alyn did a fairly decent job as Clark and Superman, but I really do think that everything he was doing was just improved on by George Reeves a couple of years later.
Yeah.
But Noelle Neal, she was basically spot on with Lois Lane from the start. Part of me does wonder why she wasn't cast in the first place for George Reeves' show. Maybe she was busy or something.
I think the whole reason with why they went with a different cast is they wanted to differentiate it from the serials.
Mm.
And that's
I don't know why.
Yeah.
I would have connected it personally, but I guess it was made by a different studio or something.
And yet I believe that this episode of the serial is directed by Tommy Carr.
Yeah, well, Thomas Carr, I think, is this one. I wonder if it's like a father and son thing. It's funny though, when they're walking down the street and stuff, I just think, looking at that set, I wonder if that set still exists and it's just like a backlot set that they've kept maintained all these years, because I swear some of the street scenes in Superboy look very similar. I wouldn't be surprised if they were both like Universal Studios sets or something.
Hmm.
or whatever the equivalent would have been back then.
Well, I know that certain sets, like street sets in Hollywood, at least around the time of the '60s, were used between multiple different shows.
Mm.
Like, for example, the episode of Star Trek Miri, when they go to that alternate Earth that's been ravaged by the plague.
Mm.
The street sets are the streets of Mayberry from Andy Griffith.
Yeah, and there's that one episode that's like a western, and they purely did that because another project had just finished shooting that was a western, and they still had the sets built, so they just thought, "Oh, this will help us save money," and it
Yeah.
was perfect. That's exactly what they should be doing these days. Let's face it, studios reuse a lot of stuff. If you watch like Firefly, the TV show, the soldiers of the Alliance in it, their uniforms are just repainted uniforms from Starship Troopers,
Yeah.
which is just an odd thing. But they are literally the same costumes. They just painted purple on some of them, but it was fine. I remember a YouTube video years ago pointing out that I think something from one of the Ghostbusters movies, they realised it had been used in a different project, and all they did was they held it upside down, so you didn't recognise it. And that was it. Wish I remember the specifics now, but I'm sure if people are interested, they can find it. So yeah, the way he's playing Clark in that scene, it does remind me a bit of how George Reeves would play it on occasion. But I don't know, I just feel like George was slightly more believable. Like Kirk Alyn, it's very, and I don't use this word in a bad way necessarily, but it's very theatrical.
Yeah.
It feels like a stage actor's performance.
And remember, he wasn't actually trained as an actor. He started off as a model.
Mm.
So anytime where I see him being wooden, it's probably because he doesn't have the chops that, say, George would.
Mm. Considering he doesn't have formal acting training, I do think he does a decent job though.
Yeah.
I do like the version of Perry White from the serials. I wouldn't say he's my favourite, but he's very entertaining. And I've got to say, that's a pretty clever plan.
Yeah. Break a guy out of prison and then sneak him around dressed with a full bandage on his head. And then, of course, Clark figures out what the plan is, and he takes the
Takes
place of
his
the guy.
place. Yeah. It's a clever plan. Let's see if it pays off. Man, those old style ambulances, though, very strange.
I
I
don't think
don't think
that's an
I've ever.
actual. I don't think that's an actual ambulance. I think that's just
It's
a
just a truck
military
that they're
truck.
using. Fair enough. I was going to say, I don't think I've ever seen an old timey ambulance if that's what they look like. And yep, Lois has still got that hat on as well.
And about to walk into something stupid.
Yeah. She was literally just being held captive by the bad guys, and now by the end of the episode, she's probably going to be held again.
And now she realizes she did something really stupid.
Hmm. But then, she weren't to know. If you were to walk into a place and see somebody like bound and gagged, you probably would help them. I would probably ask a couple of questions before untying his hands, but Also, if I was Clark and I'd left that guy tied up in a closet, I probably would have taken his gun off him as well. Like, leaving the guy with a gun in his pocket just doesn't seem like a very good idea. Right, so I guess they worked it out. He's definitely trying to do that radio voice, isn't he?
Yeah.
He does a decent job. Not quite as good as the voice from the old radio shows or anything, but close enough. Lois did make a good point. You don't shoot the person driving the car, especially when you're driving along like a cliff edge.
Yeah.
Although I suppose it worked out for him. Okay, so I guess the next episode will open with Superman stopping the car from going over the edge in some way. Maybe he'll land and grab the back bumper or something.
Well,
that was a fun episode. Had some decent action moments, Yeah, I think that was a fun episode. I don't have that much to say about it, to be honest, because I don't know, it feels like it's only a very small percentage of the story. Until I know the conclusion, it's very hard to give it a decent score, but
yeah, and the conclusion is only the first 2 minutes of the next chapter.
Exactly, yeah. I'd maybe give this a 7.5, personally.
I agree. 7.5.
Yeah. I think what gives it that extra 0.5 is just the flying shots, primarily. I think the way that the animation was integrated into the live action footage worked remarkably well in this episode.
Yep.
I did think that when Superman at the start put out the fire in the car with a blast of his
it was a little too quick.
It was instant, wasn't it? It was like done. That was a hit.
Yeah.
At least have like a few seconds of him blowing on the thing. Get a smoke machine out or something and just blow that onto the car for a minute. Just make it look like there's something going on.
That's one thing you can say about the Christopher Reeve movies. When he used his super breath in Superman 2, he used his super breath in Superman 2.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, it was a very good episode. 7.5. I think that's fair enough. I don't know. At some point, I kind of just want to see a montage of all the flying shots just to see what they all look like in sequence. I wonder if someone's done that online.
Probably.
I mean, being YouTube, there's usually someone out there that goes to the trouble. If there is, maybe we'll watch that at some point when we're finished with the serial. We'll just watch a super cut of all the flying shots, and we can critique the best and the worst of them. That could be fun. But I don't have anything else to say.
I think we should wait until after we've done the second serial, because knowing our luck,
it will include stuff. Yeah. We'll have to wait until we've done both serials, I think. Yeah, for sure. But anyway, Thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.
Viacom.